Great. Hello, everybody. This is Mary Lee, and you're here in Organized Chaos, Mrs. Lee's Language Arts classroom. What we're doing currently is we're working on our literacy centers. I have Center 1 in the back is the reading center where they're just using a conventional CD of the novel, The Sign of the Beaver. They are reading the novel for, with the audio for the multisensory approach to reading, while they are also creating and completing a graphic organizer to implement beginning, during, and after strategies. In Center 2 and Center 3, the students are using the flipped classroom method, where they are using Edmodo. In Center 2, they are reading like a writer, and they're viewing a video of me teaching a lesson of analyzing figurative language, and then they are going to answer me on the same prompt and analyze the figurative language from Sign of the Beaver. Let me interrupt a student right now and let them explain to you what they're exactly doing. Alex, will you pause the video for a minute? Okay. Will you tell the kind people on the video what exactly you're doing in this center?
What I'm doing in Center 2 is I'm watching a video of Miss Lee explaining how to classify different types of figurative language. And after I'm done with that, she gave us some types of figurative language in the description. We write these down, and then we tell her what kind of figurative language it is, like alliteration, or simile, or metaphor.
Let me ask you this. Where are you going to answer it? Are you going to do it on notebook paper, or are you going to answer it on Edmodo?
And I'm going to answer it on Edmodo.
Why do you like answering on Edmodo?
I like it better because it's a lot faster than just writing the words down.
Okay, so it's quicker for you.
Yes.
Is this normal for you to type and use this type of technology at home? Is this very current for you? You use this at home, maybe by communicating with your friends and that sort of thing? Okay, so this kind of merges things that you're already naturally doing.
Mm-hmm.
Could you see yourself doing this in the real world, communicating in this manner? Okay, very good. Okay. Center 3, the students are reading the picture book Mirandy and Brother Wynn. With the novel The Sign of the Beaver, we are analyzing multicultural literature. This is a picture book that also emphasizes the genre of multicultural literature. And I'm reading the text of Mirandy and Brother Wynn aloud, and I'm also pausing and stopping and pointing out to them different uses of figurative language and thinking aloud different points while I'm reading the text. So again, I'm going to interrupt another student, and I will just flip over here, and we can interrupt Emerson while she's working. Emerson, I hate to interrupt you. Will you pause and answer some questions for the kind people in Orlando?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, could you just explain what you're doing in this particular center?
Right now we are reading Mirandy and Brother Wynn, and in the assignment we are asked to document any colloquialisms and other figurative language, and Miss Lee's Think Aloud. She's reading to us, and she stops and points out some of the figurative language that is in the text.
Do you enjoy doing this type of activity versus maybe using the paper and pencil method?
Yes, ma'am, because it gives us a chance to actually look at the paper itself, and then we are able to write down our thoughts in the turn-in button, which we turn into you.
Right, and respond. And is it also a good way for you to quickly get feedback, like for me to read it tonight, and then I can quickly give you feedback? How do you know how you do on that particular activity? What do I do?
You grade it, and you send us the grade out of 100.
Okay, so it goes right back to you. So I go on the assignment, and I click it, I read it, and I grade it, based on, the criteria of the assignment, and then I send it back to you. So you get the message instantaneously right after I grade it, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Whether it's at 12 o'clock at night after, Lizzie's, waking me from my slumber. Okay, thank you for that. Let me ask you one more thing at this point, though. Is this very similar to how you communicate with your friends normally? Do you communicate with your friends with this type of method? Meaning, do you text with your friends? Do you use Facebook? Do you use these kind of things when you're outside of school?
Yes, ma'am, and we could also, like many of the students, if they have any homework questions or anything, they can put it on Edmodo, and we usually respond to them telling what we do.
And you can talk to each other and answer. So in other words, this is pretty common and easy for you to do because this is the kind of language you're using outside of school, where you're talking, even if you were doing it for fun, just talking to one another. This is something that you're very natural with doing. Could you see yourself in the business world? This is the manner in which you would communicate versus writing in pencil and paper.
Most likely.
Most likely. Okay, very good. All right. Let me go around to the small group right over here, and I'm just going to ask them a few quick questions, and then we will leave them alone to do their work. This is my small group, and they have been ever so kind with me. What we're doing is just a literature discussion. They found their favorite part of the book, and we're reading it, and then they're having to point out from the text why this is their favorite part. And in some cases, it's because of the great imagery the writer used. In other cases, it might just be a funny point in the book. But what they are doing is they locate it, they skim and scan, and find the point, and then we mark the page, and then we flip back and forth with each person reading aloud their favorite part, and then we discuss it. We kind of hash it out with each other. And so I'm going to pick on Brandon at this point. Brandon, talk to some people in Orlando about discussing books versus, would you prefer talking about the book and what you like about the book, or do you like doing reports, book reports, or do you prefer answering quiz questions? What's your favorite method of allowing your teacher to know what you've gained from the text?
I prefer talking about the book.
Okay, why? Why?
Well, it doesn't involve as much writing. Even though I'm
Of course.
good at it, I just don't like doing it.
Okay. And what else? Why else do you enjoy talking about it versus answering questions about it?
Well, questions are pretty much normal things. I like discussing with other people.
Okay, so it's less traditional. Let me ask you this. If you're reading a fun book at home and you want a buddy to read it, do you answer a checklist of questions for your buddy, or do you tell your buddy how cool the book is and give examples from the book?
I tell them and give them examples.
So would you say this is more real world and more authentic to what you would do
Yes,
in the
it
real
is.
world?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
All right. Anybody else want to comment on just anything from the other 3 centers that you visited? Anything you like about it? Anything that you're glad that we flipped some of the activities? Like with me teaching in the writing center, what gains did you get with me teaching versus maybe having another teacher teach? Like if I put a United Streaming or Discovery Education video on there, what's the difference? What makes that more productive hearing me do a think aloud versus somebody else? What do you think?
Well, if we were listening to someone else speak, we couldn't, like, if it was on the internet, we couldn't ask them questions about what we need. Talking to Miss Lee makes me ask a question, and she could instantly give me feedback on it or give me an answer to what I could do so it could help me out.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a very good point, because you know the star of that video, don't you? So if there's something in that video you don't understand, you can come directly to me, or you can send me a message. Mrs. Lee, I don't understand what we're supposed to do after we label this figurative language. Or I don't understand why we as writers would use figurative language. When would be the most appropriate place that I would use figurative language? So that you made such a great point with that. And also with Miranda and the Brother Wynn, what's better, because you've experienced both in centers today, you've heard a trained actor read, and he does a fabulous job, but then you heard me read, and I did a think aloud. Which one do you think is better for you? Michelle, which one do you think is better for you, do you think?
Well, I think when you were reading aloud, because like when you were reading the book, you said, well, even think about all the onomatopoeias in here. You were even telling us like what to think about when you were done reading a page, and and then you would even tell us like what sentence to look on, like just in case like we lost our place. You're like, now we are here at the end of this. We're here at the end of the sentence, and then if there was like any similes, and that you would say, well, look at the simile, or like if there was a word, you're like, what do you think she means at this point?
So in other words, I'm giving your brain some things to think about while you're reading. and some things that when you're reading text alone, you can incorporate in your own brain while you're reading. So in other words, my Think Aloud was helping you think. Would you say that the Think Aloud that I was performing would help you think while you're reading independently? You would kind of conjure back those ideas while you're reading independently? Okay, good. All right. Thank you guys for visiting Mrs. Lee's room, and come back anytime.